Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the webinar on SEO in depth. My name is Sam, and I'll look after online marketing and web design at NetRegistry. Before I start the webinar, I just want to make sure that everyone can hear me. Thanks, David. Okay, we're going to be covering a lot in the next 60 minutes. So if something kind of goes above your understanding or gets too technical, you can always get in touch with me after the webinar, and I'm happy to explain to you what I actually meant. So let's start with the webinar. Now let's look at what the agenda we're going to cover today. So what we're going to be looking at is purely on, what has happened with SEO, what are the new trends with search engine optimization in 2011, what's social SEO, and what are the things that you got to do from a search engine point of view. And also going to be looking at some of the tools that you can use to optimize your website on your own. Now, before I start the webinar, I just want to have a quick understanding about how many of you all actually understand search engine optimization, or how many of you all actually do search engine optimization on your own. So I'm just gonna open up a poll to see where do you guys fit into, so that I make sure that I'm not getting too technical, and I'm also being a bit more specific to what you would be after. Okay, great. Looks like we've got a very good mixed bag of people out here, people with having some knowledge, no knowledge, and someone who's doing SEO on their own. Okay, so let's go one step back and try to understand what has happened in the search engine optimization industry as such. Okay, so if you look at back in 2001, there were a lot of different search engines, right? Google was not the only one. The other search engines which were much more popular were Yahoo, Netscape, Alta Vista, and so on. So there were a lot of different search engines, and most of these search engines had their own data. So they would collect information and build up their database. So depending upon which search engine you go to, you would get different kind of information and so on. And a lot of times, you would go on to something like Yahoo, search for something, and it'll take you 5 results to get a proper answer. And even at that time, things were very simple. If you want to be found on the first page of Google, it was really simple. All you had to do is make sure that you're using a lot of those keywords all across your website, putting it on anchor text. And once you've done that, you practically were on the first page of Google. Things was really, very simple, but as time went on, things kind of changed and so on. So normally, when you look at search engine, 10 years back, it was quite simple, with a lot of results, and only the results came up based on what information was there on the page of the website. So most companies or most website owners would actually go and stuff keywords on their website, on their meta tags, and they were practically on the first page of search results. And at that point of time, as SEO was getting slightly developed, there were 3 factors that actually made websites rank higher. They were mainly around making sure that you've got a lot of the keyword research you've done was specific. You had keywords in practically all places, like your meta keyword tag, your meta description, your page title, and all the stuff. And then slowly there were elements of link building. You would have seen a lot of pages or websites which used to have a link exchange program. and things were much easier in the past. As we moved on, then there were things like, companies selling one-way links to your websites and so on. So you could go and buy links from other websites, and moment you get those links, bang, you're on the first page of Google. As we moved on towards further on to around 2008, things kind of changed a bit. Google started getting more and more popular. All the other search engines kind of started phasing off, so Google started getting more and more obvious across other search engines. So by 2008, it was mainly Google, Yahoo, a bit of Bing or Microsoft MSN, Ask, and so on. All the other players, Alta Vista and all, practically died off. So that's where we've seen Google picking up right from 2008, where they started getting more and more attention. The biggest advantage the reason why Google was successful is because Google had a lot of information which was very relevant to what people were searching for. But again, in 2008, things didn't change much, but the only thing is that there were more importance given to certain factors like keywords on domain name, having websites linking back to your website, getting links from one-way links from other websites. There were a lot of talk about things like page rank, how popular your website is, and so on. So from 2001 to 2008, it didn't change much. It just went on. The only thing is that more and more websites started coming up on search results, and businesses slowly started understanding that they need to be found on Google. The reason I'm going through this process is, for you all to understand as to how complex things have become now, in 2011 and so on. So in 2011, a lot has changed, In fact, from a search engine point of view, I guess it's a whole new world, You have so many different factors. You've got so many companies trying to sell you online marketing, and so many businesses totally relying on their website. So nowadays, you hardly see results like the way it used to be a couple of years back, because right now, the results include a lot of things. You get real-time informations. You could get, if you're looking at something very specific, you get sub listings for a specific domain name and so on. And because of the way Google has changed, the way we surf on the internet has also changed a lot. So we can get more specific information depending upon what we're searching for. So nowadays, the way the search results come up, they're totally different. So you could either have something like this, or if you're searching and doing a product research, you automatically can straight away see prices, reviews for a product on the main page listing itself. Or if you're looking for some kind of a service which is location based, then you've got things like Google Maps coming up. And not only that, with Google Maps now you have things like company reviews, ratings, and so on. So the information that comes to us from search engines has changed a lot, and I think we ourselves have learned to use search engines much better than what we used to a couple of years back. And not only you get nowadays text-based results, you actually get a lot of information. You get when you look at search results, sometimes you get results from blogs, from video sites, from listing sites, from review sites, and so on. So it's getting more and more difficult to be ranking highly on search engines, mainly because there are so many different formats of information there on the search engines that the first page of Google is getting extremely populated with different kinds of information. We also have changed the way we search information. We not only search today simply for text, we search for information based on video, images, and moving forward, you could actually use audio search to get results. So things are getting more and more difficult from a search engine point of view, and I think that's the biggest problem today, is that one is that we're going towards what you call as personalized results. Now Google is keeping track about your history as to what you search for and so on. So in the near future, every person who goes onto Google might get a personalized set of results. So the first 3 results might be different for each and every person, because Google knows that if you are a person always looking out for products which are price conscious, then they will try to give you results to suit that requirement. What you have to understand is that just like everyone is trying to be on the first page of Google, Google itself has been facing a lot of competition. Nowadays, Google doesn't have competition only from search engines like Yahoo or Bing. It's actually getting competition from websites like Facebook, Twitter, and so on. Because the traffic that they used to get in the past, the last 2-3 years, is now going to these different platforms. And not only that, Google itself has changed a lot. Like, for example, nowadays you don't even need to type the whole thing. The moment you type in the first word or second word, you actually get a list of results, which makes the entire optimization process much more difficult. I mean, spelling mistakes, doesn't really make any difference now, because Google is too smart enough to pick up and give you the right kind of information. So what you're going to see is that as you move forward, Google keeps on changing. You'll be surprised that in a year Google makes at least around 500 changes to its algorithm. Now out of that, some of them are big changes, some of them are very small changes. But any kind of major change on an algorithm will affect your search results. So it's not about, being found on the search engines and being number one. You have to constantly work towards to make sure that any changes that Google doesn't bring down your search results. Because the moment you drop down from your first page listing, it's a bigger challenge to come back out there, because your competition is trying their level best to come out there. It's getting more and more complex. And the biggest problem today is that Google doesn't come out in the open and say, if you do this, you'll be in the first page of Google. So what I'm trying to do today is talk to you about what are the different factors, that are affecting search results. Now, you may not be able to implement all of them, but at least if there's something which is within your control, I think you should implement them. So we've kind of covered our journey from 2001 to 2011. So let's look at what happens in 2011. Now there is an organization called as SEO Moz, which is more of an association of SEO experts worldwide. So what happens is that there's some interesting information that all of the SEO experts share within the community. For example, the importance for certain factors. So if you look at this graph, and this is from information shared across SEO experts worldwide, we've seen a big difference in where Google is giving importance to. So not only Google gives importance to things like your keywords on your domain name, it also looks at various other factors. It looks at how much of authority you have on a domain level, how much of authority you have on a page level, how much of social metrics, that means how much of links you're getting back from other websites, and so on. So there's a lot of factors that are actually affecting it. Now there are a lot of SEO companies in the local market who actually try to sell you an SEO plan and talk about some of the things that used to work in the past, but frankly speaking, that doesn't work anymore. You have to do basically go across various things. Now when you talk about authority, I guess Douglas has got a question. What does authority mean? Authority means basically, what is the value of a specific product? Who's going to give much more value to it? So when you look at from a search engine point of view, it's all about understanding, okay, if you get a backlink from, let's say, cnn.com.au or sydneymorningherald.com.au, that's an authority website. Google trusts that website. That website is quite reputable. So Google starts giving those, takes importance to all those kind of factors. Now these are some of the factors that you look at. So let's look at these factors much more in a brighter way. So to start with, you got to make sure that the information that you are sharing or putting on your website is not purely for a search engine point of view. It also has to be worthwhile for the user. Sometimes most businesses go overboard and they do so much of optimization that the text on their website doesn't make any sense. Okay, so imagine you take all the efforts of being on the first page of Google, someone clicks on your result, and then when they read the first paragraph on your website, it's so boring that they hit the back button and they go somewhere else. So when you're putting things on your website, make sure that the content on your website is actually something people like, and they're happy to share that with others. It's a great thing to have a lot of resources on your website. It could be information-based resources, it could be frequently asked questions, and so on. The other thing also important is the usability of websites. A lot of times, you go to a website and then you find it extremely difficult to navigate through the website. We face the same problem with net registry. We realize that on an average, on a daily basis, at least 100 people who go to a website, they select a domain name, they put that in the shopping basket, but they do not complete the transaction. So we've kind of found a way how to capture that information, and we've started going back to these customers and asking them, what made you not complete the transaction? And what was interesting is that almost 50% of them wanted to buy, but for some reason they got confused with what is the difference between a parked domain or what's a free trial. So they didn't know what it was, so they felt that rather than taking and making a purchase, they would like to go further back into some other website or go back to Google, search about what the entire process is. So you got to make sure that your website design is pretty user friendly, and more importantly, whatever information you put on your website, make sure that you're not duplicating it. A lot of times, sometimes you tend to put so much of content across your website that the information is getting practically duplicated on different sections of your website. Two reasons. One is no one likes to read the same content again, and secondly, from a search engine point of view, if a search engine spider visits your website and it comes to some part of information which is already scanned earlier, it's going to ignore that section of your website. The other and the most important thing is that you got to make sure that your entire, whether it's an e-commerce store or whether it's an information-based website, you got to make it easier for someone to reach the endpoint or the destination. So if you're trying to get someone to fill in an inquiry form, don't make them go to a couple of steps. Don't ask them too many questions. If you are selling a product online, make sure that you're not forcing them to set up an account or asking them information which is going to increase the time that they need to spend on your website. And finally, the most important thing is that you got to do the right kind of keyword research. I'm going to talk about keyword research a bit more detail in the other slides, because a lot of times we do keyword research using the wrong kind of tools. Okay, so let's have a further look at what are the factors that used to work in the past and don't work right now. One of the most popular factors in the past used to be keywords on the domain name. Now this used to work very well 2-3 years back, or even last year, where if someone had a domain name which said mortgagebroker.com.au, that was a very important factor from Google's point of view. But the problem with Google is the moment Google understands that people are, or website owners are trying to manipulate Google's algorithm, they stop giving importance to it. So we've seen in the last couple of months that there's a drop in the importance to keywords and a domain name. Now, similarly, things like putting a lot of anchor text on external links. It used to work in the past, where if someone is actually linking back to you, they will write a very nice description about your business and link back to you. it had a lot of importance. That importance is fading off. Similarly, there are other factors, but what's increasing, is the social signals. That means, getting traffic from social sites like Facebook, Twitter, and so on. Now, unfortunately, Google understands that people spend a lot of time on social media. If you look at business how it operates, most businesses are successful because most of their traffic comes from, or most of their business comes from word of mouth. Today, social media is a new word of mouth. So there are a lot of stats which clearly show that most people believe they are friends or family when it comes to getting recommendation has compared to getting recommendation from an advertiser. In the next presentation, when I talk about social media specifically, I will share some of the stats which really clearly show the importance of why the social media stuff is adding value onto your search engine optimization strategy. I'm not sure how many of you all actually use social media, but whether you like it or not, you'll be forced to use that because that's adding a lot of value. Google has come out in the open and explained that yes, they look at social media as one of the factors. So any traffic you get from Twitter or any of the social media platform, that is going to influence your search engine results as well. So these are some of the factors which we feel is going to grow in the next couple of months and years to come. So you have to focus on, click-through rate, what's your bounce rate, how many people land onto your website and they leave from your website. All that information is what Google is going to look at while ranking your websites. Because if Google realizes that most people coming to your website leave from the home page, they know that the user experience is bad. So if you do not fix your bounce rate, you're going to affect your search engine ranking as well. I hope I'm not getting too technical. I'll try to keep it as basic as possible. Now, these are some of the factors that which always worked in the past. Now, they are slowly losing importance. Things like, having the right kind of title tag. It works, but doesn't have so much of effect it used to a couple of years back. So these are some of the factors which 2 years back were the only things an SEO person would look at. Nowadays, those factors are slowly losing their importance. And as I said earlier, there are close to around 200 factors. You can't really do all of them. But I think it's good to understand that which are the top 20 factors you should consider rather than trying to do everything across. And some of these factors are within your control, some which are not within your control. From a social media point of view, again, what you'll see is that most SEO experts feel that, one of the things that will add a lot of value is things like Facebook shares, Facebook likes, comments that are adding value onto search engine results. Google themselves today display Twitter results on their search option. So if you actually go to Google, search for something, on the left hand side there's an option which says search for real time, which is nothing but anything that's happening with regards to that keyword on the Twitter platform. And you'll see today that social media is playing a big role across all organizations, whether it is small or big. If you look at today's news, Qantas got the entire social media strategy yesterday totally wrong, where they went to do the right thing and try to, build up a brand, but it actually had a negative impact. So, what you would learn from Qantas's experience is that, you have to watch the social media platform. You need to understand your customers. You can't simply go and offer them something not knowing what they feel about you. If the sentiments about your business is very negative, okay, there's no way you can make it positive by just throwing things at them. Okay, now Google has done quite a lot of change in the last couple of months. And some of the things which we feel are affecting, and that things you got to watch out from a website point of view. One is definitely, is that do not use someone else's content. because Google doesn't give any importance to duplicate content. Make sure that the information that you put on your website is meant for your users and they will benefit from it. It's quite simple. If you share some information about your industry, whether it is something that some tips of how you do or whatever it is, the person who lands up on your website, if they find that information interesting, they're more likely to share that with 10 of their other friends or who would be looking at a similar service. So what is happening is that by giving good information on your website, you're automatically getting sent across to other people who might be interested. I mean, that's practically free traffic coming your way. The other thing also with regards to keywords, you've got to make sure that you have the right kind of keyword strategy, because there are different keywords. There are keywords which will convert. There are keywords which are what we call as long tail keywords, which will help you build up a potential customer base or a pipeline. So you've got to make sure that you're using the right keyword strategy. So you can't just have one single keyword strategy for all your different platforms. So you got to look at that. Some of the things that a lot of people miss out on are things like you tend to just leave out some of the meta titles and description. Now it's not a huge factor, but that are one of the factors. Still, it has got some kind of information across. Similar with regards to taking content from other websites. Make sure that the information you're taking from other website is not which is there across 50 other websites, because then it doesn't add any value. If you're doing some research, make sure that you're not copying up information which is there on other 500 other websites, and just doesn't add value. What also is important is to constantly watch your Google Analytics. Now, Google Analytics, for example, now give you much more information than what it used to 12 months back. In fact, the latest version of Google Analytics today also helps you track real-time tracking of who's actually on your website. It allows you to analyze traffic based on what kind of, where it's coming from, because you need to understand which part of your marketing strategy is working, whether it's Google AdWords, whether it is the organic traffic, whether it is your social media platform, whether it is directories, and so on. The other important thing also is, it may not be relevant to you, but some websites have got a lot of banners on the website. Now, what these websites tend to forget is that if someone is coming to your website, you're spending some money to drive people to your website, or some time. Imagine someone lands up on your website and you've got a lot of banners. So someone comes to your website, clicks on the banner, they're gone away from your website. There's hardly any chance they're going to come back to you. So if you're looking at making money out of banners, banner advertisement, think about the cost that you're spending to actually get people onto your website, and it may not really be worthwhile. So Google looks at all those factors, because end of the day, what Google looks at is, if Google sends someone to your website, would it be a positive experience for the person, or would it be a negative experience? So all these factors will actually add up to that. Okay, let me just do a bit of a check to see, is my voice still clear enough? Can everyone hear me? Okay, wonderful. And have I started getting a bit too technical, or is it okay? Okay, wonderful. Okay, so if you look at the new SEO service, the process is that it's a mix and match of things. Not only the normal search engine optimization that you do, but you also need to have your strategy around what do you do with your Facebook presence, what do you do with YouTube, what do you do with LinkedIn, and all those kind of stuff. So you have to understand that your website is not only the initial source of lead generation. Okay, people come to your website when they want to buy a service, so they come during a research mode. A lot of customers would come to your website after they bought their product. Okay, now they would come back either to leave feedback about the product, the service. So if you feel that your customer service is really good, then those feedbacks will only help you get more business. Okay, a lot of times people come back to you because they bought a product, they are stuck with support, they want to go and find is there more information. So it doesn't stop by just getting in front of the customer during the buying process. Okay, it also it's a complete process and how someone uses your product and so on. And if someone has a very good experience using your product, they're more likely to come back to you again or recommend your website to other friends and so on. The problem with most businesses today is that if I ask them, do you have a social media strategy? The answer is saying yes, we do social media. Okay. Now the thing is that it's not about whether you do social media or not. It's about how well you do it. Because just by having a Facebook page, a Twitter account, a YouTube account doesn't mean that you're active on social media. They're just tools and they're just platforms. You need to think about how would you convince someone to recommend your business online, because the moment you start promoting yourself, you're not going to get the right kind of people to your website. You want your customers to go out of their way to recommend your business, and that's going to send you the quality traffic that you're after. So whether you like it or not, you will get into some kind of social media activity while you're optimizing your website. Okay, so if you look at when you talk about using your keywords, I mean, you got to make sure that you're not stuffing your keywords. Make sure that you've got a decent headline or heading which tells what the page is all about. Make sure that you've created a theme around what you do. So if this particular page is talking about chocolate donuts, it's not repeating the word chocolate donuts 20 times. It's talking about everything around chocolate donuts, chocolate donuts. So you are spreading the theme of those keywords across your website. Okay, if you are uploading an image on your website, okay, that image also talks about chocolate donuts. Same as your website URL. So if your domain name is marysbakery.com, that page on chocolate donuts will be marysbakery.com/chocolate-donuts, because everything you put on that URL helps Google understand your page better. One of the other things I was talking about was keyword research. Now most people do a keyword strategy and say, okay, I want to be found on the first page of Google for these 5 keywords. Now that's great, it used to work 2-3 years back, but now what you got to make sure is that the kind of people who go to a blog are different from the kind of people who go to a website or go to a social media site. So that means you need to work on keywords based on what platform you're trying to target. Okay, so someone looking at social media sites, would be typing in different keywords compared to someone actually going onto a website or going onto Google or doing a research on blog. So make sure that your keyword strategy is not common across all the platforms. And that goes to also with, when you do your normal keyword research. Now, most people, when they do keyword research, I'm pretty sure all of you is you would go to something like the Google external keyword tool and put in keywords and find out what people are searching for. Now that tool is good, but it's not accurate, because what you need to understand is that the keywords that people type on Google and click on organic results are different from the keywords that people type and click on sponsored results. So when you do keyword research, you need to break it down to, depending upon whether you're doing Google AdWords or you're trying to rank organically, because the searches done on them are totally different. So are the search volumes and so on. So in some industries, Google AdWords works better in conversions than the organic SEO. the organic results. In some industries, the organic results work better than the sponsored listing, but you need to understand that. Especially if you're selling a product or a service, what normally happens is that when people are in a buying mode, they're more likely to be looking out for either a brand or a price, or some kind of unique features in terms of, a quick delivery or free delivery or 24/7 support. Now, all that information is something which you can easily display on a AdWords, on a Google ad, on a sponsored listing, as compared to an organic listing. So I think when you do your keyword research, you got to go one step back and say, okay, what is my objective? My objective is either to sell products online or make my phone rings or get people to fill up my inquiry form. The next thing you got to go and find out, okay, people within my industry or the potential customers, what percentage of them might click on sponsored listing, how many of them would click on organic listing. If you're looking at organic listing, what are the keywords they actually click or type when they're doing a search on Google and clicking on organic listing. So keyword research is actually become a bit more complex than what it used to be 3-4 years back. 3-4 years back, or even 2 years back, you can simply go to the Google AdWords tool and it'll give you information. But today the information is not really accurate. There are a couple of tools that you can do these keyword research. Some of them are free, some you got to pay for. But if you want information like this, then these are paid tools where you have to buy a subscription from these keyword research companies. What also is important is that a lot of businesses tend to forget the importance of having good quality information on the website. Most people today are impatient, and not only that, a lot of us use a handheld device to search the internet. So if you look at what Google had to say, Google said that there are more people today searching on Google using their mobile device, mainly because when you go out for lunch between 12 to 2 or 12 to 1, you're away from your desk, but you have your handheld device with you, and you're more likely to do research while you're waiting for your food to come, or you're waiting for your friend to meet up, or whatever it is. So imagine if you're using a iPhone or an Android phone, how much of patience would you have to read through a lot of information? So whatever you see in the screen, if it's not attractive enough, you hit the back button. So a couple of factors that really are adding value. One is the load time of your website. You would see yourself that if you're using an iPhone, if a specific website is taking a long time to load up, you're more likely to hit the back button and go somewhere else, because we are becoming extremely impatient. The same thing goes with with quality content. You have to make sure that the information is going to add value to a person coming onto the website, because if it doesn't, they're going to walk out and they're not going to come back ever again. And a good thing to do is that when you actually are putting stuff on your website, it's a good thing to ask your customers or people whom you know. So if someone buys a product from you, it's a good thing to ask them what made them buy the product, or if was there some specific information that they found which helped them to take a decision. So it's really important to understand, what are people really want to read, or what information they're after. Because a lot of times as business owners, we simply will go and put in our product functions and features, which no one really wants to know. They want to know whether the service or the product that you offer, will it meet their requirements, or are you the best solution for them? What also is important is to track your popularity. Now, your popularity can be tracked on various different options. It'll look at in terms of how many backlinks do you have from other websites, how many Facebook likes you have, how many tweets you have, how many Facebook shares have happened, because this will give you a better understanding as to how popular you are offline. See, whatever you do on your website, Google knows that it's always going to be positive. And that's why anything that's external to your website, those factors are today adding more value, because that's something which you're not, which is not within your control. So and that's why social media is becoming popular. The biggest reason social media has become popular is because it's practically freedom of speech. You look at a website, if you go to someone's website, you can see only information. You can't do anything. So even if you don't like something over the website, I mean, very unlikely you're going to sit down and write an email to them and saying, I don't agree with you. Then we went on to setting up blogs. The good thing about blogs is that it allows your customers to interact with you. But again, that is restricted. If someone talks something negative about your website on your blog, you have an option of saying, I don't want that comment to be published. So that's where, from blogs, people started moving on to social media, where social media, there's absolutely no censorship. Okay, but having said that, you can't simply go and talk negative about everyone, because when you go and express yourself, you're measured based on how popular you are. So if someone does a tweet, what they were looked at is, okay, how many followers does this person have? Or, what kind of authority does this person have, and so on. Based on that, you will take that tweet seriously or not. So if you've not looked at your links or backlinks, you have to make sure that you do that on a regular basis. Now, some of the tools that you should consider is for your keyword research. We talked about Google AdWords keyword tool. Now, that is okay. However, SEMrush is a very good keyword tool, which allows you to which tells you exactly how much of traffic comes from organic results, how much of them comes from sponsored listing. It also tells you what keywords your people within your industry are bidding for. It also shows you ads. So if you put in your competitor's domain name, it will show all the keywords that they're optimized for. It will also show you all the keywords that they're trying to sponsor on Google AdWords. It will also show you all the keywords or all the ads that are running at the moment. So it's a good way of looking into competition and trying to find out what works for them, what doesn't work for them. It also gives you an understanding as to what is the approximate cost per click for some of those keywords. And a lot of times, it's important to find out some of the keywords that you might be missing out on. And using a proper keyword research tool like SEMrush or Word Tracker, you can actually get some good quality keywords to be added to your strategy. One of the other things to do is to look at on what's happening on your website in terms of on-page optimization. Now, there are practically around 250 different factors. So if you don't want to go with an SEO company, or you want to do optimization on your own, then there are quite a lot of optimizer reports that can give you an in-depth analysis of what's wrong on your website. Like Net Registry's got one where I think we charge $60 to give you a 60-page report about what's wrong with your website. So it'll go through your entire website, tell you what is wrong from a usability point of view, from an a technical point of view, from a strategy point of view, from how many clicks does it take for someone to reach you. So that report will tell you what are the things that you need to fix on your website. The next thing is that if you're using a blog, then there's a lot of blog comment management tools that are there which will help you manage your blog better so that you get a lot of traffic from your blog. Then you can do link tracking like the one I showed you earlier, the Open Explorer. It's a good way to find out exactly how many backlinks are coming onto your website. One of the other things to do with social media is to do social media monitoring, is to say, what people are talking about yourself or your brand or the products that you deal with on the social media platform. If you want to be successful on social media, you need to be proactive, or you need to be able to solve people's problems. So if someone, let's say you're dealing with web hosting. This is what we do. If some company has a problem with web hosting, or if a client says, I don't know what to do with it, we actually go in and we try to help the customer. So we don't try to sell them a product, but we help them solve the problem. So we use that platform to go and reach out to people and say, we can help you solve your problem, and so on. So then you can use social management tools. A lot of them are there, which allow you to have a single dashboard to manage everything that you do on Facebook, Twitter, blogs, and so on. You also can look at things like social mention, which is again a social search. Every time someone talks about your business, your competition, you will come to know. You can use things like Google Alerts as well if you want to. Then the other thing also is about any kind of engagement that you do online on a social media platform. You would like to know whether does it have a positive impact or does it have a negative impact. So now some of these factors are based on social media, but it is kind of merging together. So social media used to stand on its own, but today they kind of work together hand in hand. I myself, used to stay away from social media, but then I realized I have to change because the market is changing. So if you look at, I mean, the old school thought about doing SEO cannot really be on its own. So it's just not about doing link building. You have to look at everything in terms of how do you do your social media promotion. Google Maps, for example, is again a part of social media activity. Looking at reputation tracking again is important to your brand, to your business, and so on. So slowly the concept of an SEO consultant is moving away from being more of an online marketing strategy. What also is adding a lot of value today is YouTube and video optimization. You'll be surprised that today YouTube is the second busiest search engine. So the traffic that goes to YouTube is practically after google.com.au or google.com, youtube.com is the most popular website. The amount of time an average web visitor spends looking at videos has increased drastically, and you will realize that even today in search engines you will see a lot of YouTube results coming up. If you have and it's just not about putting YouTube putting videos on YouTube. You can set up a YouTube channel, but it's also great to have videos on your website. Now there are different kinds of videos you can have. You can have videos which are pre-sale, talking about how to use a product. You can have videos about your product demonstration. You can have videos about testimonials from customers. For some reason, nowadays people like to watch videos rather than sit and read a long testimonial. So as a part of your online marketing strategy, you have to look at video optimization, and it's becoming more and more important. And again, with putting up videos, there are different ways to optimize your videos. Ability for people to share the videos, like your video, all that actually adds up. Again, YouTube is a social media platform, so any traffic from YouTube back to your website is a great reference. The next thing from a search engine point of view important is the mobile search. Now the mobile search trends are increasing drastically. More and more people are actually looking at let's say you go shopping, you walk into a shopping center, you walk into a store. You're gonna have you might go onto your handheld device and say, let me read about this product. And this is what happens today. Imagine you walk into a retail store which has got 50 products. Now, if you go to the salesperson and ask the salesperson which product should you buy, you may not get the best answer, because the salesperson might say something that's going to benefit him or his organization. Okay, now you can take a decision on the spot. So what most people used to do is they would have a look at it and they would go back home, do their research, and maybe next day come back and make a purchase. But moving forward, what's going to happen is, thanks to social media, you would not need to do that. Every product would have a barcode or something like that. You simply can, or a QR code, you can simply scan that thing on your handheld device, and within a minute you'll get around 100 reviews about that product. What's also interesting is that out of that 100 reviews, you might find that 14 of your friends have used the same product. So you're more likely to trust your friend than the company that's trying to sell it to you. And I think that's where mobile search is getting more and more popular. So not only your results need to be optimized, your web pages need to be optimized, but also you need to look at product reviews and so on. If someone has got a positive experience with your product, it's a great thing to encourage them to recommend your product or at least rate your product. And I think that's the way things are moving across too. And some of the trends, like from Google, some of the information that's come up, it talks about the amount of usage of smartphones that happen when people are in the store itself. Okay, so a lot of times, and the great thing is that when someone does a search on their mobile phone, the percentage of conversions are much higher. So if you look at it, if 95% of people looked out for local information, 88% of them took an action on the same day. That's the power of being found on mobile devices, website being mobile friendly, at the same time coming up on those mobile results. So you got to test whether your website is mobile friendly or not, and also you have to look at, if you're a location based business, then local SEO is really important for your business. And so if you just having a Google Maps listing nowadays is not enough. You need to find a way of optimizing it. You got to find a way of getting people to review your or rank your service or your product and so on. So if you look at today's results, there are a lot of things we do online. Even though search has always been a key factor, what you'll realize from this stats out here is that people going on to social media sites are increasing drastically. So there's a lot of there's a massive growth with social network sites. So apart from optimizing your website for your keywords, your search engines, you have to look at how do you drive traffic from those platforms. So if you look at search, search is, it's nothing great today. I mean, even if you come on the first page of Google, it doesn't mean that, you're going to make a lot of money or you're going to get a lot of inquiries. So getting a click out of search results is only an initial step. A lot of things happen beyond that, so it doesn't just stop out there. So just because you're on the first page of Google doesn't mean that you're going to get a lot of business. You got to understand that now when a customer goes onto your website, they are into different stages. So some people start their process by researching a product, doing a bit of a discovery, trying to find out whether does it meet my product or not. Then they start seeing, is this something which is really worthwhile? So just having the information and driving people to your home page is not going to do the job. You got to have all those other factors adding on value into it. Imagine if you go to a website and you realize that a lot of people on Twitter or LinkedIn or Facebook have recommended that business. You're more likely to take that search result a bit more seriously than without having all those informations. I think we ourselves as human beings are practically social animals, so we like social media. So when social media was picking up, we literally got adapted to it much more faster than all the other platforms. And that's why today, Twitter, Facebook is so popular. It's because we love to share information and it's all about, the new word of mouth. I'm pretty sure most of you all use Google Analytics. So when you go to Google Analytics, what you tend to look at is, okay, how much of traffic comes from search engines, how much of traffic comes from direct searches. But what we don't look at, and which you should look at, is the actual traffic that doesn't come from search engines and doesn't come from someone actually typing in your domain name. That is what we call as referring sites. Now that is where a lot of traffic or quality inquiries can come through. Now those referring sites are not just other websites, but they mainly come from other platforms like Twitter, Facebook, blog, feed readers, and so on. So that is almost a large percentage of traffic which you don't know where it's coming from. But imagine if 50% of your traffic is coming from referring sites. There's a lot you got to do to make sure that they convert better. So rather than spending all your efforts trying to focus purely just on Google AdWords or pure SEO, think about how do you get value out of those referring sites, because that's what's happening. So whatever you get. So from a website, what do you think should be important? Apart from having good content, you got to look at do you have your option for people to interact? See, most of your customers may like to use Facebook, or they are so much on Facebook. If you do not have an option where they can recommend your business on Facebook, that's a lost opportunity. Okay, and there are very few people who don't use Facebook nowadays. Almost everyone uses Facebook. The only thing is that it depends upon how much of time they spend on it. So either it's Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and so on. If these platforms are signals or ways of reaching out, you got to make sure that your website gives them that option. You need to make sure that there is a platform for customers to interact with you, and that's what is going to make a lot of difference to your business. And why you should bother? You look at the amount of traffic or the amount of users most of these platforms have. That's the amazing amount of users on that platform. If you had to reach to those kind of people, by other traditional way of marketing, it's going to cost you a lot of money. Whereas if you use the right approach, you can get a lot of free traffic from these platforms. And there are different ways to look at it. It's just not always about doing one kind of marketing activity and leaving it across. There are different activities that would contribute to the actual sale itself. So it's just not a lot of times people do videos. It could be a funny video, it could the video that can actually go viral, and so on. So there's a lot of things that you can do to add value, and adding those, like doing webinars, doing seminars, doing product demos, and all those things, they simply add value for a customer experience, and that's what really matters today. We're so used to trusting our friends and family is that social media is actually doing that for you. So that's why, if you do not go through the entire process, you're going to lose out on it. So it's just not getting people onto your website. You got to make sure that you're giving them enough reason. You're giving them an option to see why other people like your business, and so on. And I think when you put all those factors together, you'll get a better conversion. It's not the quantity of people coming to your website, it's the quality of people that's going to matter. But if the quality of people coming to your website rely a lot on some of those other platforms, you simply can't ignore it. And you have to make sure that you get a lot of reviews for your products and all that, because if you're into the hotel or the accommodation industry, when you look at an accommodation, most people actually go and look at reviews of a specific apartment or property. Okay, you're likely to take a decision based on reviews than actually what the hotel owner has to put about it. So it's getting more and more important, whether you like it or not, that the entire social media plugging into search results. Again, if you run a blog, a blog can add a lot of value. It is all about linking all the other activities you do together along to a blog. So whether you're doing Twitter, whether you're doing LinkedIn, whether you're on Facebook, everything will add back, and that drives traffic to your website. You got to make sure that people can react with you. It has to be a two-way street. But if you just have a single website and information on it, you're just pushing information down. You're not letting people react with your business. And the way people shop online has changed. Not only have we gone online, we've kind of going away from retail shopping to online shopping, but even the online shopping is getting more and more complex. It's not as simple as going to an online store and saying, yes, I'll buy this product. We tend to look at various things. We look at, is there a rating for this product or a service? What do others have to say about it? How popular is it on Twitter and so on. So all those things are adding value onto it. And I think that's where social media is actually contributing to the organic part of it. So you have to change yourself if you're not doing it right, especially about saying I'm doing social media, or rather being social, taking initiatives, looking at marketing strategies, looking at how you can, add another 10 or 20 loyal customers or 20 people who would like to share your company information or whatever it is. There are some companies out here which actually restrict their staff from using Facebook during office hours. Now, which kind of, makes sense, because you don't want them to, spend time on Facebook and so on. But look at the opportunity lost. If you have a call center and you have an agent who gets a compliment from one of their customer, that agent might go on to Facebook and say to 50 other people about what a great compliment they got, and then that just keeps on adding up and saying, what is this company all about? So there's a lot of way of getting indirect traffic onto your website if you actually do social media the right way. I might just run a couple of minutes overboard to the time that I'm supposed to finish off on, but if you look at it, social can spread a message much more quicker than any other platform. And believe it or not, today social media has got a huge influence on search results. There are a couple of videos within YouTube, which actually are within the Google channel itself, which talks about how Google is giving importance to these social signals. So the things that you really have to look at is, think about using video content on your website. Look at how you can make the information on your website much more useful to your customers, so that they not only benefit, but they also share that with other people. Okay, look at using social networks to personalize your ranking, so that you're using Facebook, Twitter, and so on. Okay, look at how you can reach out to more people without really spending a lot of money on sponsored listings and so on. So there's a lot of activities that you can do around it. So the thing about search engine optimization is that it's changed a lot. It's not about the things that you do on page, it's more about the things that you're doing off page that's going to add value. Because there's only so much you can do on page anyway. You at the most you can keep changing your keywords, adding a couple of more links and so on, but whatever you do off page is actually going to benefit your on page optimization as well. So when you do an SEO checklist, you got to look at having these couple of strategies in place. One is to look at your quality of your content. If you feel that the quality of your information is not good, it'll be a great thing to hire a copywriter who could put that in better words. Think about a blog strategy, if you don't have one, because if people are going to buy a product and service from you because of your knowledge about the industry, you must have a blog. Look at a social strategy. Think about how you can use social media to benefit your business. Look at a video strategy. Look at what and how you can use video for your business in terms on your website, on social media. Reputation management is picking up. You got to find a way of how you can get people to recommend your business, or what do your customers think about your business, your service, and so on. And most importantly, look at social media monitoring. Look at what's happening on the social media platform with regards to your industry, your business, your competition, and so on. So I know the last 60 minutes was a lot of information sent across to you guys, but the bottom line is that SEO is not as simple as it used to be in the past. It is kind of getting more and more complex. There's a lot of players in the market. If you're not spending much time doing optimizing your website, there are others who are going to benefit from it, and you're just going to lose it. So you got to take yourself into consideration and say, how much of your business depends upon your website? If 60% of your business depends upon your online inquiries, you cannot ignore your optimization program. You have to either take time and spend time doing it yourself, or get someone within your organization to help you with doing the optimization. Or if you do not have the time and the resources, then it's time that you actually employ someone else to do it for you, because the buying patterns has changed. Customers choose to go online and shop, and there are so many factors that people look at today before they just buy the product. Price is not the only factor. Price used to be the only factor, but now there's so many other factors. There are product reviews, there are recommendations, there are product opinions, all that add value onto it. So it's really important what you can do for your business. Now, if you need a copy of the presentation, feel free to send me an email. I can send you a copy of the presentation. If you have your own business and you would like to have some good information about your website, or you would like to have some guidance about what someone like NetRegistry can do for your business, feel free to give me a call. I'm happy to help you. And this is one last thing I just want to ask all of you all in the room is, this is what a marketing team wanted to know, is a quick question before you guys leave is, if I would just like to, they're close to around 27 or 28 people in the webinar right now. I just want to ask is, if we plan to do a full day workshop where we actually go through the entire process and explain to you how you would do you think you guys would be interested? Because a lot of times I do these webinars, customers come back and say, it's great, the information is great, but I need someone to show me how to do keyword research, or how to look at my website, or where do I put my keywords. So one of the things that as a company we were looking at is, would it be worthwhile to do a one-day workshop wherein we can get a lot of people to come and sit across, open up their websites, look into the individual websites, and tell them how to go about optimizing their website. So it could be a one day of investment, and a couple of dollars of investment, but then the information that you will take home will help you do the process moving forward on their own. And if you have any questions, feel free to send me an email, and I'm happy to respond back to it. Thank you very much for spending your time, and hopefully we'll see you later again. Thank you very much.